Hey there everyone, and welcome back to the Reliant Regal Super Restoration. Well, it's a Reliant Regal 325 Super, but it feels quite a mouthful. But anyway, since the last day seen it, the power is back on and we've got signal again, as I'm sure you've realised when the videos started appearing back on the channel. So, in front of me is the painted up axle. So, yeah, there's been massive amount of things happening since he was last here, because I had quite an idea for this almost special kind of idea. So what we're going to do is a daily, well, try and do a daily video, it might be every couple of days, of the Reliant Supers rebuild until we get it back to what it was like when it came here, except it should work. So I was just having a quick look. There's a little scuff around here. I don't know what it came from, but that doesn't matter because that's coming off. But anyway, that's getting ahead of ourselves. To get the Super rolling again though, we have to get this back in one piece. So what I've got here is the U-bolts that are all now painted, and in this tub, which I think I'll take the lid off of it if I can. There we go. Everyone's a bit stubborn. There we go. Right, lid's off. And here is all the bolts which aren't painted. Now, we'll just try one on to be sure it's not too choked up the threads. No, that's okay. Right. So we've got that. We also need one more thing, which I should have checked before I put the camera on, which are these two little plates. Now these sit on each thing like that, although I can't remember which way around they sit. So I'll bring these back shortly. I'm going to go and have a quick look at my photo of how these sit, and then we'll continue after that. Right guys, I've double checked it, so I have got it right this time. They sit that way. So what we're going to do is, I'll put some copper grease on the U-bolt first. I always use this stuff everywhere I can because I know it stops any problems later on, because it will actually come to bits. So that goes on there, that up the side, through that clamp, and one of those. No washers on it. And all I'm going to do is just nip this up so that it's holding it from falling, because at the moment it just seems to rumble about back and forth. Right, there's a problem. So nip that up. This videos, by the way, will contain a mixture of time lapses and, well, this kind of content where we're just working in the car and I'm talking away to you guys. The reason we have a mixture of both is some of the jobs will be quite painstakingly slow, like so this one, which I'm only not doing time lapsed because I can introduce you to what we're doing with this part of the video and part of the project. So I'll just nip this up. I'm not tightening it properly just now, it's just going to be nipped up enough to hold the bracket in place, which is about there, I think. And then we'll get another one on. And it's important these are tightened up well equally, so that you don't have the axle twisting and going all out of shape. Well, the leaf spring bit anyway. So that one up by the side. Getting there. It is actually going in the right place, which is a good start. So put that one. Be sure not to cross thread it. We'll try this one first, I think. That's a better fitting one. Must be a touch more paint on that side compared to the other one. But you might, well, I'm sure some of you ask this in the comments, but you might be wondering why I didn't do all this work on camera. And there's one really good reason for it. I wanted to get it pushed on as quick as I could. And the time it takes to film all these little jobs where I'm just buffing and cleaning, it takes a lot longer to do the jobs. Although, I was going to bring us back to do the brakes, but we did brakes not that long ago on the, I can't remember if it was the Bond Bug or the Super Van. I'm sure you guys will remember. So try that one a little bit. I just want to do these equally so it's all nicely tightened down. I'll do this too. This one. That's my jacket. I was wondering what was making the noises, but it's my jacket rubbing against a bit of the axle. This one looks like it's needing some adjustment because I would say one of them's taller than the other. I think if we slacken this one, give this one a little bit of tightening. Maybe not. I thought that might work, but that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. This thing just looks a little bit lower. For whatever reason, I'm not too sure. And maybe, no, I'm using my imagination, I think. No, it's the same. Right, so that's that. Bottom one's done. I'll double check them in a minute before I put the top bolts on. Same with this side though. So this will just sit on here. Now this is where my problem was a minute ago when I was test fitting everything and lining stuff up to get ready before we started the video. And thankfully I've got a little box here that's going to save the day, because every time I was putting this springs on, the weight of the hangers at the back was knocking the whole thing backwards. Leave that there. Some copper grease on here. I'll get this done. And then I'm going to go for my supper, because I'm just home from that doesn't make any sense. I'm just home from work, so this is going to be just in an evening actually, building up, well, the first day of working on the rebuild of this van. This van? Must be hungry. That's why I must be mixing everything up. The rebuild of this Regal. So what we're going to do is we'll get this built, and then I will get the shell on it, and it'll be a mechanically sound Regal, fully rebuilt below, but with a original shell for the moment. And that's mainly for one reason, and that's because I want this Regal to be enjoyed by people as much as I enjoy seeing it. So I thought, if I go and get it road legal, so get everything done that it needs done to be a roadworthy Reliant, which is the work we're doing now, the Reliant Regal can then be used on the road, go to shows, be enjoyed as an original car, until such time, which will be a little bit down the line, because we need to get a few of our vehicles painted before the Regal can be done. So we'd get all them done, which is, well, the BN2 will be painted actually before the Regal because it was here first. But we'll get all that done first, and then when his Regal's turn comes around, I don't have to spend anything mechanically on it. It'll just be a bodywork prep and get it to the paint shop. And once it's painted, I'll have a nice two-tone looking Regal. Because of course I'll be keeping it the original colour, because it just looks fantastic. Right. I'll tighten this up. Then I'll find the last nut that I haven't got a hold of yet. Then I'll have to tighten up all the bolts once we've got it on its chassis. I think we'll slacken that one a little bit. Tighten this one. That looks good. Last big bolt is here. What I'm also going to do is, once I've put these on, I'm going to give them a coat of copper grease. I haven't painted the bolts because cleaning a bolt with a wire brush and a grinder, I think, would be probably one of the most dangerous things I could think of doing. Well, not even with a wire brush and a grinder. So what we'll do is give them a coat of grease. That'll protect them, and it'll also mean they'll be good to come off in many years' time. This one's slightly tougher. I think it's just because of the amount of paint I've sprayed on. These U-bolts were wire brush cleaned. So we'll just get this on. And then that means when I come out after my tea, it'll be ready to start sticking this axle onto the chassis, the front radius arm back on, which I think's just out of shot behind me, and then get the whole thing back into free wheels. Brakes fitted, basically turn it into a bit of metal into a car. This one's a little bit tougher. We'll keep going. I think it's neat. That looks good. That looks good. It feels good, and that feels good. So that's on to the little ones. These are just lock nuts. Just goes up against the first nut we put on, and that stops it coming loose. And then we'll give it all a coat of copper grease, and hopefully that'll be it. And then we'll have to remember and put some oil in the axle before I put the shell on, because it's so much easier doing this when there's nothing in the way. And I guess you guys also be curious about the engine, because I haven't released, well, this time the video that you've seen last hasn't been released, so I can't answer your questions to it, unfortunately. But I can answer your questions to the one of what was, well, will the Regal run, where you was asking about if it's just a stock valve, or if it's what we need to do and all that bits. So the answer to that was, it wasn't the stock valve. What was wrong with the Regal was indeed piston rings that were seized in the grooves, as I call them, stock rings. So piston 2, which was the one that we was thinking was going to be a problem, was indeed a problem. It had every piston ring stuck. Apart from, no, they were all stuck. There wasn't even one unseized in 2. So that one needed new rings. Cylinder 1, which was low compression the first time I tried it, and then it went to slightly higher after it was run, that had 2 stuck rings. I think it was the oil ring and the second ring, if I remember right. So that needed new piston rings as well. Then we go to piston number 3, which needed a new oil ring, I think it was, but that just got a new set again. And piston number 4, the one that was quite good from the start, was actually quite good, and it had nothing wrong with it. But it's still got new rings, because if you're doing rings and all the rest of them, be as well do that one. So the engine is still sitting on my workbench where it was in the photos, because the cylinder head's getting done just now. But I believe it'll be ready tomorrow, or, well, should have been today or tomorrow. So I'm waiting a phone call just to get told that it's ready, so I can get it picked up. And then basically we get the engine back into here, and we get the shell put back on, and everything made into a running and driving 325. Because the radiator's back, it's not a problem with it. What else is there? Can't really think, there's not much else actually went away to be done. Chassis came back with powder coating. That's about it really. It's been a kind of slow week. Well, slow couple of weeks actually. So I'll just put this last nut on. I think we'll stick the wheels on just now as well. And then I won't have to roll about, or lift about this, I can just roll it even. This is looking perfect, you know. Right, I'll just give this a coat of copper grease over the top of the nuts as well, just to protect that bit of thread that's exposed. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I mean, it's going to protect it anyway, so it's not going to do any harm. And I'd rather protect the threads on this than have, in a few years' time, have to cut the blooming nuts off because the threads have seized. They're filled up with all the stuff on the Scottish roads around here. Salt and all the anything that I can not currently think of, unfortunately. But anyway, let's stick a couple of wheels on it, and then I'm going in for my supper because that's that time, I guess. So this is actually the spare tyre, because one of the back ones has developed, well, it had slow puncture when I took it out the shed it was in, and it's still got a slow puncture, so it's not going on. Right, that one, there we go. I will hide behind the tyre a bit for the moment. Not just the easiest ones to fit. And I probably don't have I don't have my zippy gun over, but I'm going to get it because it's a lot easier putting these on with an impact gun. But it's not far away, thankfully. We'll nip on these wheels, get it out, set it on the floor, and it's ready to go. So where's we need the 3/4 socket for this one. Nip the wheel nuts up. That means the battery's flat in that one, so I'll change the put the battery on charge. I've got a charged one here. We'll zip on these two wheels, and that will be it for the moment. But it won't take too long, thankfully. There we go. That's that one on. I can't remember if this is one of these had a broken stud in it, and possibly it's the side that I just put on just now. Some of these are quite tight actually. So take that off. I think this is actually went on the same side it came off. That onto there. That. That and this one. I might have to take all this off again, by the way, so There we go. Right, so wheels are on it. That means I can take this off of here and it's ready to go. So I'm going to actually stop there because that's my supper time. So, I mean, next time you see this, it'll be sitting, oh, that's quite heavy, like that, on the floor. So, right, I'm going to go and have my supper and then get a chassis over here and I'll bring you back then. At least it looks quite good now, and it's shiny. So guys, I'm back, I'm fed now thankfully. So I've got the shiny chassis in now and it's looking quite good. Again, it looks the part, and my repairs are actually looking the part as well. Not to blow my own trumpet too bit. But yeah, right. Now we need to get that axle attached to the chassis. So we've got the chassis bolts, or the bolts here for the suspension. I've not painted them. They're just as they were. They'll get a coat of copper grease because copper grease makes everything better. And it means they won't seize in the chassis, more importantly. Because we don't want these sticking in the chassis because that is a major pain in the backside. So that's that one. And I've already decided what we're going to do just now is we're going to have this part of the video done this way. In fact, we're going to do the back two first, it looks like, because they want to go in first. So we've got this one to go in there. I've got a nice rubber mallet. But yeah, what we're going to do is, for this part of the video, we're going to fit these up, get them in place, and then we will do a time lapse of fitting the front radius arm because that's going to take some time. Right. Now, it's there about, I think. That's that one in. We'll go to the next one. So we'll remember where these all come from. Just so we do, we'll put that on there just now. So let's go to this side. Nice coat of copper grease. We'll use the big brush, yes we will. Oh, that's better. Good coating of that. Then over to here again. That in position. Rubber mallet. That was a little bit tougher, but it's in. Then the front one's going to be slightly heavier because to get it in I have to lift the chassis up or push the axle down, which will do the same job, lift the chassis. So let's go to this one. We'll just check same size of bolts again. I'm sure they're all four were the same. I didn't check at the beginning. Well, no, I did check when I took them off. So I'm pretty certain everything's fine. Right, that's that. Now that goes into there, and just like that, the chassis lifts up in there. Now, what would have helped is if, right, right, that like that. Anyway, that's the hide mallet I used in that one, if anyone's interested. And the only reason I used the hide one was it was quicker to grab it since it was right next to me. Now this should mean that other bolt hole isn't quite lined up, but it will be when I give it a little alterations, shall we say? Alterations? Yeah, that suits. Which just means I'll wiggle it about till it fits. We know it fits because this is the original chassis. And it was in one piece when we got the car. So, this one. And into there. Now we need that one to come forward a little bit. To do this slightly backhanded. Not good to do this actually. Try that one. There we go. Something weird about these ones. They seem to always stick on one bit. There we go. And that's it on. So, we've now got a chassis on 2 wheels. But of course it is a freewheeler, and we do need it on free. So, next part is I'll just wheel this back a little bit. I'll be off camera I imagine now, because it's really tricky to do this while being all on camera at the same time. We will stick a axle stand below it, and really I will go and do that in time lapse, but first let's tighten up all these bolts. It's the same size that was using in the impact gun last, so it's quite simple to do. That one into there. Sorry, that'll probably been very loud. This one. That one. Now what I'll be doing is just checking them with my normal 1/2 inch ratchet as well. Make sure they're sitting same. Looks good. And the last one. Well, we could just do it this way because that's not moving. Try this one. No. 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 No, that's good. Right. Now that the back axle's on, I will stick these on time lapse and let's stick the front one on. That's more awkward than the back one. Biggest reason for time lapse, and it takes longer to do. But anyway, I'll go and get that done, and I'll bring us back once it's in one piece again. Well guys, we've got a rolling chassis. Now there's one more bit I did when the time lapse ended, which is I put the brake pedal and master cylinder back on, which you'll be struggling to see the master cylinder because it's actually just right below where I'm sitting. But yeah, it's on. I've still to put the spring back on actually for here, but that's not a big issue. The spring's lying in the car anyway. So yeah, tomorrow's job will be putting the brakes on, I imagine. So I've got one of the pipes here, so I'll have to make new pipes for it, put the new flexi hoses on, and bleed it, because we can bleed it when it's like this. which is brilliant. So we'll get the brakes totally completed tomorrow, and then it'll be onto getting the clutch mechanism. No, we can't do it yet. Onto getting the rear oil seal replaced on the axle, because it needs changed for the diff bit comes out, or the diff proper, I'll get it right. The rear axle drive for the prop shaft comes in until it needs a new oil seal, which is in my box of bits, so I'll get that done. We need to put the dampers back on the back as well. They're lying over there still. Now, I will stress, because I know that, or I will explain even, that sounds better. I will explain, because a few of you will probably be wondering why I fitted fitted the front spring and not painted it. And everything else is shiny, and then I've got this rusty spring. For one good reason, and that is, normally when I take the time to clean and prep shockers or springs or any of that things, well, not leaf springs, they're quite bulletproof, but those kind of things, they always burst. So I don't take the time to clean them nowadays, I just use them, and if they fail I change it, and it's a nice shiny new one. So, yeah. Anyway, that'll be me for tonight. So I'm going to go and have a well-earned break, I think now. And tomorrow we'll get the brakes all fitted into it, and then the engine in the next day. And then it's kind of get everything else finished and get the shell back on it. And then we get to hear a 600 engine fire to life again. That should be fun. So yeah, we'll have to do a carburetor rebuild before we put the shell on as well, because there's no point making it awkward for ourselves by doing the rebuild once the shell's on. So we'll do that as well. And my boxes of bits are disappearing, so it's quite good. It means the whole box, where have I got one of them? These boxes here, this one's actually full of the stuff for the centre of the back of the gearbox. I found them on a construction site that I was working on. And they were for stainless steel screws, but they're all getting binned. So I did my bit for recycling and decided to take them home to the shed so I could use them for storing bits and pieces in. And they've been fantastic for that. Anyway guys, I'm going to get inside and go clean up and have a chilled night. Well, rest of the night even, because it's the back of 8 now. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of the Reliant Regal rebuild, the start of getting it back on its wheels, which I bet you didn't think would be happening this quick. It's not even a month since we bought the Regal actually. So yeah. But anyway, if you've enjoyed seeing it, remember and give the video a like, and if you want to keep up to date with all the Reliant content on the channel, as well as some new stuff that's coming in the future, and I will say it's not Reliant. Yes, big shocker, the Reliant channel's changing to something, but don't worry, Reliant will be the main topic of this channel. It's just going to have a few little new things added into. I'll give you a bit of, I guess, spice up the channel a bit. So it's worth staying tuned for those, because I know some of you have been wanting to see some of these vehicles added in. But yeah, anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember and give the video a like if you have, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of the Regal, the BN2, the kittens, the everything. That's the best way of putting it, because there's so much Reliant stuff here and there's even more coming. So guys, I'm going to go and chill for the night, and we'll see you next time. I can't resist. I always love doing this on a chassis when it's built. So you can actually surf on a chassis now. I wonder if you could do a Reliant skateboard. Moves quite well. We'll see you next time.